Hello everybody, welcome to POP's latest video in this series, introducing the newest additions to our board. You may already be aware that we are a charity and therefore we require a board of trustees who help guide and steer our work. And I have the great pleasure this morning of introducing the latest addition to our board. Lauren, welcome. So
Hi.
Lauren, hi. I'll let you tell everyone a bit more about yourself shortly, but just by way of brief introduction, you are a lecturer in criminology at the University of Lincoln, and your studies focus on desistance from crime and recovery from addiction. And also of great interest to us is you've also worked in prisons conducting research around resettlement and the contribution of families. So we are delighted to have you on our board, but what we'd like to do this morning, if it's okay, is just find out a bit more about you as a person. So would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi everybody, I'm Lauren. And I suppose the thing that I spend most of my time doing is my job, which is lecturing in criminology at Lincoln. And as Rebecca said, that's a really broad sort of topic. And within that, I focus on sort of supporting people to leave crime behind, and also focusing on enhancing people's chances of recovering from addiction as well. And I've done work in lots of different areas around this, so in prisons and in the community. But I'd say the things that I focus in on across the board are strengths, so what people can do well, what they're good at, asking them what they enjoy doing. As many people will know, that's not something that's often asked within the prison system. It tends to be focusing in on risk and things that have gone wrong. So asking people what's gone right, what do you enjoy doing, is one of the things that I try to prioritise when I'm working. And families as well, as you mentioned. So families are incredibly important, and I've done some work around sort of trying to enhance relationships and time spent together between people in prison and their families as well. So really looking at the positives and working towards enhancing them. So I'd say they're the key areas of work life. Home life, I've got a big dog. I know some of the other trustees have mentioned dogs. And he's great, bless him, but he has no idea how big he is. So he considers himself a lap dog. And he's definitely far too heavy for that. I think he's around 35 kilos at the minute. So yeah, when I'm not working, I'm normally with him out walking. So,
And I'd love to talk to you more about your dog, but I feel professionally I should ask you a bit more about your research. Tell us about the findings. I mean, I love the approach that you've taken, like a strengths-based, positive outcomes approach. But what have you found as you've taken that approach?
So some of the things we found, particularly from the HMP Kirkham resettlement programme that we implemented, was that families can be really important for sort of providing a sense of hope for people whilst they're in prison. And whilst we used families and their relationships to help sort of create a bridge from the prison to the community, actually what we found as well was that family members themselves could feel quite isolated within the communities that they lived in. And this was for a number of reasons. Some felt quite stigmatised for having a loved one in prison. And what we wanted to make sure out of the programme was not only that that person in prison had a resettlement pathway and something to look forward to on release, but also that family members gained confidence in their local communities as well and felt more connected. So that was one of the key things I think we found from that research, that making sure that family members feel supported as well, which resonates really nicely with POPs. And then
Absolutely.
yeah.
So we were chatting offline because actually you hadn't heard of POPs until recently, had you? Despite the fact that we're kind of on a twin track. So tell us, how did you come to find out about us?
So I've been trying to strengthen my Twitter profile, and this is something I encourage my students to do actually as well, because it's incredible the information you can get through Twitter nowadays, and the connections you can make. And I'd come across Pops's Twitter page, had a look through, and was in awe of the work that you do. It's one of the lesser focused on areas, sort of the families of people affected by the criminal justice system. And I was really heartened to see it. So yeah, I looked through your website after finding your Twitter page, found out more about what you do, and really loved the values of the charity. So that's how I became acquainted with Pops.
It's really good to hear. What is it that you hope to bring to the board?
So based on sort of work experiences, I think seeing how isolated some family members of people who are incarcerated can feel, sort of bringing that knowledge and understanding of the research findings to the board, and also strengths-based approaches, which fits really nicely with how POPs work as well. So looking at enhancing effectiveness moving forwards is something I'd really like to bring to the table. And also just understanding more broadly, I've got people in my life who are affected by addiction and some of the criminal justice orientated aspects. So, you know, working in an understanding way is something that I really like to prioritise as well.
That sounds brilliant. I've got my last question for you. And I think this has been the trickiest one for people so far, but and only because I think we could probably talk about it for hours. But if you could change one thing about the criminal justice system, what would it be?
Oh, I really don't know where to start. I'd probably change quite a lot. On a smaller scale, I was thinking I'd probably try and just increase contact between families and people who are incarcerated wherever possible. Different countries approach criminal justice very differently, and alternative approaches include sort of designated buildings where families can come and stay for the weekend and have that quality time. So I think that would be one of the things that I would increase first and foremost, that social contact, particularly for people with children, you know, who are affected by incarceration. On a larger scale, I'd look at reducing the prison population overall as it stands, but that's obviously the process of sort of decarceration would take a lot in practice, but in an ideal world, I think that's where I'd be aiming.
Well, we love your ambition and we're really pleased that you're joining our board. So Lauren, thank you so much for your time this morning. We've really enjoyed getting to know you a bit.